5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavocolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avocolis, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and of course on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. So however you're tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we appreciate you for being here, and thank you so much for being a part of the show and really giving it your time and making it a part of your week. So that means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to all of the wonderful companies that I have the opportunity to work with here in the community as we bond together to create a better Central New York and a better upstate New York and do the best that we can. Use that hashtag SupportCNY. It is very important. It goes a long way. That hashtag SupportCNY. So make sure you do that. Amy saying good morning here, good morning
together
to
create a better
hope you're doing well and hope everything is going well. So to all the great people out there that are connecting with our show, as always, thank you, and we appreciate it so very much. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and Cafe Kubal, like I said, with 5 locations in our community, make sure you get yourself over to Cafe Kubal today and have some fun there at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, as well as their 4 locations in Syracuse, which are 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 208 North Townsend Street. So make your way over to Cafe Kubal today, and I would greatly appreciate you doing that. So thank you to everybody that has gone over there, and thank you to everybody that supports local however they can here in our community, and not just supporting local, but remembering that the companies, I consider them local as well. Carvel DeWitt, Chick-fil-A Cicero, as well as Honda City of Liverpool. They've ingrained themselves in our community, they've helped out our community, and they've done so much for our community, and they're run by people in this community. So the Cafe Kubals, the Carvel DeWitts, the Wildcat Sports Pubs, Avocolis, Honda City of Liverpool, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Millhouse Market, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Thank you for all that you do for Central and Upstate New York, and please make sure to go out and support them as they support you, and not just supporting you in the community. These are the people that hire your kids, hire your parents, hire your grandparents and your neighbors and, your peers and whatnot. These businesses are here not just to grow and blossom, but to help you have opportunities to grow and blossom yourself. And without communities like these, without businesses like these in our community, then some of the best people in our community wouldn't be here. So I want to thank them for all that they do for building up our community and being here for us. With that being stated, we're going to take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for a fast break. When we spin back around, I'll have the opportunity and the pleasure of bringing into the show Mr. Jim Christian as he tells his story after being let go after 6+ years with Boston College. We'll talk with Jim Christian right after this fast break where sports meets life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, where you're tuning into live internet streaming radio throughout the world, as well as our video on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, all live for you, all every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. With that being stated, our first guest of the week is here with us inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', Jim Christian, who spent 6+ years with Boston College, and before that has had a long history of being a head coach. And I have the opportunity of bringing him onto the show to tell his story. So let's get him in here. Jim, how are we doing today?
Dan, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. And Jim, it's one of those things where, I respect and appreciate you. I don't want to say from afar, but when we get the opportunities to speak with the ACC, there's that opportunity for me to talk with all of the coaches representing. This past year was very difficult for me because I like building those relationships and building those connections, and the ACC tournament really didn't get to go off. It started and it stopped. I want to start there with you because it's been such an interesting year. Almost to the date of you and I talking right now is when America just kind of flipped over and didn't know what to do. What can you say about, a year ago getting ready for the ACC tournament, getting ready to go in, and, thinking that life was normal when obviously in the background it wasn't?
Yeah, I think it was one of those years that, nobody was prepared for in any way. In just terms of there's no playbook for everything that happens from that moment where you're concerned mostly for kids' health and getting them home safely. Schools were closing down. With really, it wasn't really a ramp up. It was kind of like, boom, here it is. It hit all at one time. And now you're scrambling just to, make sure everybody's home, make sure everybody's safe, make sure everybody can, have an academic plan. And then obviously what happened after that as we progressed back to playing basketball, all the things that these kids had to do on a daily basis, and not just the kids that playing basketball, just the kids going to college. It was just, again, I was part of this team that was like welcoming new students to Boston College. Could you imagine, when you and I went to college, if the first thing you did, your parents drove up, and the first thing you did before you went to your room, before you met anybody, was go get a COVID test and sit in quarantine for your first 24 hours of your college experience, just sit in your room. So it was a unique experience for everybody in the country, and just, something you'll never forget, and you feel bad. You just feel bad that those kids, the ones playing sports and the ones not playing sports, had to go through.
Yeah, and like you said, such a different college experience that people are going through now, and how strange it is. What was your advice to these kids as they went through this? What did you say to them about, how to handle it? I mean, like you said, you didn't go through it. I didn't have to go through it. So, what was the advice to your student athletes about, when you were there at Boston College going through all of this? What was the advice to them on the fact that it's like, hey, you're here, but, you don't really get to have the college experience, especially if you're a student athlete. It's like, don't go near anybody except for your teammates. So how did you handle that?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you got to empathize what they're going through and listen. I mean, it's just listen to what they're thinking, listen to what they're saying, and then, and again, get them to be appreciative, because it is a short-term thing. That just be appreciative of the opportunities that you have, and try to get back to normal as quickly as you can. Back to normal routines, back to enjoying from my team, enjoying just getting on the court, because we didn't have a summer, so we didn't have any of our athletes here this summer, minus football. Football team came in the summer, so getting them back on the court, just being appreciative, like the first couple days, to at least there was some semblance of normalcy. And I think that was really, really important. And then just kind of rolling with whatever happened, being able to, to be flexible enough to just explain each situation as each situation changed, whether it be a game, whether it be a practice, whether it be going on pause, just really communicating and having them to understand, what they needed to do on a daily basis. Not, that you can't, you could not let your guard down at any time. Yeah, and even with that, there's a factor of luck involved with this. You know what I mean? Because you can do everything right, and somebody can still get it, and that's the hard part.
Yeah, and having that, did you have any like heart to hearts, any really tough moments when you're at BC with your guys? Was there ever a time where these guys maybe mentally or just they were drained, or they wanted to go home, or they just felt stuck? Did you feel like you had any of those moments with these young student athletes where it almost seemed like they couldn't go on, or they were a little stir crazy, because I feel like everyone's kind of had their moment this past year where, you just want to do something that feels normal.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those moments, because anytime, anybody was in a situation where they were contact traced and had to go to quarantine, you literally are in a room for multiple days, multiple consecutive days, and you unfortunately can't, get out. So that's a tough situation mentally. So I think, there's a ton of those kind of conversations, and, trying to uplift people and connect people. And I think it's, again, it's not just, sometimes we look at just the athletes, but it's every kid. I mean, it's every student on campus that goes through that. It's not easy. The ones who were fortunate enough to be close to home could go home during that. They could choose to quarantine at home, but some can't. So I think it's, I think it's just empathy, just understanding and listening, just, making sure that they know you care about them. And then, that they're not out of your mind because they're not at practice, or because they're, you're not practicing. Like, just letting them know that you're still thinking about them, I think, is important.
That coming here from longtime D1 men's basketball head coach Jim Christian. Jim, this year, as trying as it's been, in the midst of all of it, you had to deal with your own adversity of BC mid-season saying that they're going to go in another direction. How did you take that? Because as a broadcaster of almost 18 years now, I am very leery of the mid-season change of direction. I always think that that's a very strange way to take things. I think it almost kind of throws the year out. So how did you handle all of that, and what can you say about the fact that, amidst Corona, amidst all of these strange occurrences, here we are, and, Boston College lets right in the middle of February that they're going in another direction?
Yeah, I think it's, again, it's part of the business. I think, like everything else, your first concern is for the players. Your first concern is, for them and for your staff, and then you obviously, you think about that. But then I think the good things come out of it. You know what I mean? And I think the good things that come out of anybody, we all know as head coaches, it's part of the business. It's part of what happens. If things don't go your way for whatever reason, and breaks don't go your way, or injuries happen, you're going to be the one that takes the hit, and you should be, because you're the head basketball coach. And so the good things that come out of it is when you reflect upon it and you're out of it for a couple of days, the amount of people that reach out, that you've impacted their life in some way, whether it be other coaches, whether it be players, whether it be former players, or players' families, former players' families, and you realize, like, especially for me, because it was 19 years of people, 19 different years. I really heard from people that I coached on my first team, or a family member from somebody from that first team 19 years ago at Kent State, to a kid right now, right after it happened. So I think it makes you realize that, man, you know what? Besides the winning and losing and working hard, they see that you also had a positive effect on them, and I think that really gets you through all of it. And I think that makes it, for your own self to say, okay, good, that my life's work was not just about winning or losing games, and it's part of the business. Like, I've been both. I've been the hot coach that that everybody was trying to get, and then I've been the guy that struggled through a tough situation. So I think that's all part of the business, and you learn and you grow with every step of it.
And what have you taken away from being on both sides of the spectrum? Speaking here with Jim Christian this morning on Wake Up Call inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. What have you learned from being on both sides of the spectrum of going through a tough situation, as opposed to being the guy that, like you said, everybody wants, the hot coach that's out there?
Yeah, I think everybody who's realistic about our business understands it's a very, very thin line between having great success and not having great success. It could be the development of one player. It could be a ball bouncing the wrong way. It could be one recruit that we all know is one recruit you just got. I think everybody in our business really understands that everybody works hard. Between all coaches work hard. All coaches have their teams prepared, and it's very, very thin line, especially when you're in a league like the ACC, between winning and losing, and between being successful and not successful. And it's just, it's again the time to reflect on everything and what you did, the way you do it, and what you might do differently, or without second guessing yourself, because that wouldn't be it. Because we all have things that we believe in, and you just move on and just learn and you grow, like any other occupation, like any other business, and the things that we tell those kids every day. When you have adversity, what do? You don't feel sorry for yourself. You find a way to improve. You find a way to get better, and you find a way to grow.
Yeah, and for you, the growth that you've had at your time to reflect on Boston College, you spent 6+ seasons there. What have you learned, hindsight 2020, literally in the year and then, figuratively in the statement? What have you learned from Boston College? What did you learn from that adversity that you can sit here today, almost a month to the date that they gave you the news? What have you learned?
That's a good question. I think I'm continuing to learn. Like I told you, the first most important thing is I've learned about the impact I've had on others, which is unbelievably positive. And I also was at a great place. Boston College is a great place. I met some unbelievable people during my time there that I'll have relationships with for a long time, regardless of where I go or what happens. So that's a great thing. And again, you just learn about yourself, learn about what you take a kind of a self checklist on the way you approach certain things, the way you did certain things, and say, okay, maybe there's a different way to do that or a better way to do that. And if you're fortunate to get another opportunity, you're excited to try it. And that's, I think, what everybody goes through that's in the situation that I'm in. And again, it's not something that's unique, and you can't think that it's unique to you. It's it's me. It's unique to me. I'm the only person going through this, because unfortunately, as you know, this is the time of the year as conference tournaments get going and conference tournaments end. To me, it's the saddest part of the year is when you see good people who work unbelievably hard, who just, breaks didn't go their way for whatever reason, and maybe they went from success to not success, and unfortunately they lose their jobs and have to re-find themselves in new situations. So this is a tough time of the year for anybody in college basketball.
Yeah, and being reflective of your time at Boston College, what was it? What can you say about the program? We look back on, seasons of 13-19, 7-25, 9-23, 19-16, 14-17, 13-19, and then this year 3-13 before you got the news. What was it about BC? How would you describe the program? I mean, you're within the ACC, and a lot of the focus, if not all of the focus, from the outside looking in is on Duke and North Carolina, some Louisville, some Virginia at times. But what can you say about what happened in Boston College over that 6+ years, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's many things. I think there's a lot of reasons why there's why there's success, and there's a lot of reasons why there's not success. Some of it is situational. Game here or game there turns your whole season around. For us, I honestly believe we had it turned around, I think, in season 4 with Jerome and Kai, and then both guys go pro. So when you lose 2 pros at Boston College, it's not easy to replace them right away. It's not like the schools we mentioned, North Carolina or Duke, who can replenish a pro with a pro. You have to find a situation where you have experience and you get a little bit older, you get a little more mature, a little more understanding, where at close games you can win. I think if you see like Georgia Tech right now, that's what's happening with them. Young guys who learned and grow and stayed together and were able to keep their team together so they can get old and win those type of games. And I think that's part of it. And then, again, it's not an easy situation, but I think, they're doing everything they can. And that's what I tried to do while I was there, was help them move the program in the right direction. So it gives them a better chance every year to compete. And I think they're doing that. I think that they'll continue to do that. So that's going to be rewarding for the players that, will still be there.
Kai and Jerome, you brought them up, that you felt like the program was turning in the right direction at Boston College, and they went pro. What can you say about what they did for you and your appreciation of those guys and anybody else that you'd like to mention, knowing that, you had that talent that was really trying to essentially turn the corner for not just themselves, but for Boston College in general?
Well, I think they speak for themselves. They're 2 unbelievable kids who who developed, again, both guys were ranked in the 300s in the country. One was a lottery pick, and the other one, when he got his opportunity to play in the NBA, thrived. And I think that's a compliment to those guys. It's a compliment to how hard they worked and their commitment and their belief in everything. And when they went pro, I was happy for them because that was what they needed to do. It's not about me or the program at that point. You're happy because those kids are chasing their dreams, and they deserve to chase their dreams and do what's right for their family. I think that's what I told them. And that's what we talked and met many times about it. Still do. I still talk to both Jerome and Kai, about their stuff because that relationship is well beyond the 3 years for both of those guys that they spend in college. It's going to be a lifetime thing. So those things happen. But there's every player. I can sit here and tell you about every single guy that I coached at Boston College because they're great kids. We had phenomenal kids in our program that worked hard. And unfortunately, the results weren't as good as we all would have wanted. And that's part of it. That's part of the growth for them. It's part of the growth for me and for everybody who's involved in the program.
That coming here from Jim Christian, longtime D1 men's basketball head coach here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Jim, you went through, before being let go this year, you went through a 3-week shutdown because of coronavirus. How did you navigate that and handle that? I mean, new territory that we have here, but games were postponed at Virginia Tech, against Pittsburgh, at Clemson, at Louisville, against Florida State. How did you handle all of that amidst this season? You're talking about the kids already having a different life, having to get a COVID test. You guys kind of have to stay together, can't go anywhere else. There's concerns that you normally have with basketball. Then you have health concerns, contact tracing, and all this other stuff, and trying to abide by all the rules. And in the middle of your season, you got nothing for 5 games that all get postponed in a row. How did you get through that, and what can you tell me about that experience?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's something very unique to this season, and I'm hoping nobody ever has to go through it again. And it's not easy to get through it because, people don't realize it's not just canceling of games. Those kids are doing nothing. They're not able to come in and shoot. They're not able to come in and practice. I think sometimes people get the wrong idea. They're just practicing. They just can't deserve to go through it. They're literally doing nothing. They're doing their academic work, and they're sitting in their room. And meals are getting catered to them or brought to them because they can't go to the dining hall. They can't go to different places on campus where other students are because they're being, contact traced. So it's a complete shutdown. And then your body, how it affects, I think will be studied for a long time. The effects of, if you had it, I think that will be studied for a long time, how it affects your body. And then you're fearful of injury coming out of it because you have 13 days or 20 days of inactivity based on whichever team canceled the game. Because you have 2 teams. You could be 100% fine, and the team you're about to play, it tests positive, and now, boom, you're going back in, or they're going back in based on the tracing method. So it was difficult. I think, but it's difficult for every team in the country, and some handled it really well, some did not. And you could see the results when people come out of quarantine or talking. You can listen to what coaches say. Great teams like Baylor about how it takes them some time. I watched Clemson in our league; it was a phenomenal team. Struggle coming back. It's just different because you don't know how the kids' bodies are going to respond. Their mentality coming back, fearfulness. There's a lot of things that went into this year that you had to be prepared for. That there's no playbook for. There really isn't, and it's just it's unfortunate. Now as we head towards conference tournaments and NCAA tournaments, you're just hopeful that doesn't affect more teams. And I think obviously things are getting better nationally. It's such a great thing for the entire country.
Do you think, Jim, that we can do this? 68 teams all converging. Granted, they're going to be in one state. They're going to be at 5 different locations, but they're coming from all over the country. Do you believe that, 68 different schools with their conferences, having their protocols and this, that, and the other, do you think that we can actually get this off, or is it crazy to believe that there's not going to be a stoppage or a team or 2 teams or 5 teams at one point that are going to have to pause because of contact tracing, a positive case? From my point of view, I find it hard to believe that almost 70 teams converging on one state isn't going to cause at least one or two teams to have to pause, but how do you see this NCAA tournament going, and do you think we can actually get it done?
I'm really hopeful. I think the kids deserve it. I'm really hopeful that they can do it. I'm really hopeful that it can be done. We spent 9 days in the Mohegan Sun bubble, and I'm sure the NCAA has studied this, and the medical staffs from all the leagues have studied this from every angle you can study it for, and giving everybody the best opportunity for health and the best opportunity to play. And there's a lot of sacrifices that the kids have to have, because we went into the bubble, and if it's anything like that, where you just say you just go down and get your meal, go right back to your room, and the meeting spaces are not, you don't meet. Film has to be in a special area with ridiculous amounts of spacing. Just all the protocol that goes into every single movement. We couldn't go anywhere unless we were going as a group. Now, this is just the Mohegan Sun bubble that we were in. Yeah. We couldn't go eat unless we were all together, walking down together, away from other teams. So that the interaction is so minimal. And it worked. So I'm sure the NCAA has studied all of these models, the NBA model, the NHL model, the ones that have been successful, and will implement whatever they need to do, because it's for the kids, man. You just want them to play, have this experience, and get through this so they can finish the season.
For me, and you talk about this season and talk about the kids, going back to what I said about being against mid-season changes and whatnot. How did you address the team? Did you get a chance to talk to your players? Did you get a chance to sit with them and sit with your staff and let them know what was going on? Because, obviously from our conversation here, and beyond that, you care about these people. They matter to you well beyond basketball. So did you get an opportunity to say something when you found out?
Yes, I did. Anybody that's gone through it, it's not an easy conversation. It wasn't an easy conversation when I went from, because of an opportunity from one school to another, saying goodbye to those kids. That's hard, man. That's a hard conversation. This was the harder one because of the timing. So it was tough to tell staff, to tell the players, that you care about, that that they need to finish as strong as they can and do things that they need to do, and that you're just basically always going to be there for them, the things that you've promised the whole way through. It didn't change any of that. And regardless of the timing, it would never have changed any of that. So, like I said, those are the people you care the most about, and those are the people you're the most concerned for. So you just do everything you can to put their minds at ease and be available to help in any way you can help, whether it be staff members or players.
And with you departing Boston College, we saw that taking over as your assistant coach, Scott Spinelli. What can you say about Scott and your relationship with him, and just maybe how things were when you had to address it with Scott, and your thoughts on him moving forward?
Well, it's a great opportunity, and we've been friends for 30 years. So, two of the guys on my staff, Billy Wazinski and Chip Cunningham, have been with me for over 12. Chris has been with me for 4. Scott I've known since college. So, we had great conversations about what's best for the kids and what they need to do moving forward, and then you just root like crazy for them. And moving forward, there are great coaches and loyal people that were on my staff. So those people, I want them all to be as successful as they can be, and chase the dreams that they have, because they all deserve it and have worked unbelievably hard the whole time. So again, our relationship was good. Our relationship's always going to be good because we're friends, more so than colleagues and basketball coaches. So that's all you want for every one of them, is that everybody, anytime there's these situations, at the end of the day, all the people who work for you, you want to thank them. You want to make sure they understand how much you appreciate how hard they worked for you, their loyalty, and then you want, as best you can, make sure that they try to find an area or a job that can satisfy their needs.
It hit home to me when this happened because, like I said, I've had respect for you and coaches, throughout the country, and, you were here in Syracuse, 75-67, that close game. after you were let go. I mean, I think if people look back on your schedule and you talk about the ball bouncing a certain way, you played close with Villanova, who was ranked third in the country at the time. You played close with a St. John's team that's trying to resurrect themselves. You went to overtime and played close with Minnesota. NC State was a close game. Louisville was a relatively close game. Duke was a 1-point loss on the road. So, and then the Syracuse game, you fought back into that one as well the second time around, and that being your last game at BC. What can you say about how the ball bounced this season and that moment inside of the Dome? Because that was, a coach never knows their last moment with a team necessarily unless you decide it on your own, but I guess the question that I can answer myself, so I have to find a different way to answer it, is now that you know that was your last moment, how do you look back on that moment, so to speak?
I look back on it the same way I look back at every moment here. I think the one thing about our teams, the one thing about these kids that I have so much respect for was, irregardless of the situation, they bounced back and played as hard as they can play. We would love to have been at full strength. I don't think we were at full strength much after the St. John's game, with guys getting hurt or guys being out. But those things happen to every team. Those situations you got to fight through, and there's obviously not excuses. You should have more success than that. But for me, that game, is the same as every game. You just wanted those kids to find a way to win it, and put them in the best position you could put in as best you can. So every game I coached at Boston College, every game I coached for all the schools I was at for 19 years, I worked my butt off every single day for 19 straight years. I worked hard, and everybody around me worked hard. And that's all you can look at. And then I said, the thing you can be feel most rewarded about is the impact you have on those people well beyond their time playing for you. Because that's what I'll remember. And that's what this has done, to be honest with you. And I said it really puts that in the forefront. That it makes, when you're in the middle of those battles, you don't really think about that. But when something happens, and those people reach back out, that's when you realize it. That's what it's all about.
The ACC was always from the Carolinas out, and the Boston Colleges of the world, the Pittsburghs, the Syracuses, the Louisvilles, the Notre Dames. These are teams that we were used to seeing in the Big East and having that connection. And so it's always been kind of different for me and strange for me. But when you look back on the ACC, do you think that the BCs and the Pitts and the Syracuses and the Notre Dames and the Louisvilles and whatnot, do you feel like there's a place for them there, or does it still feel strange?
No, of course there's a place. I think I think good teams are good teams. And, good players are good players. And the ACC attracts great players. The ACC attracts great coaches. So I think people overanalyze all of that. I think it's all about trying to attract quality players, high character kids, putting together teams that could win. If you could win in the Big East, you can win in the ACC. As long as the university and everybody's as committed as the other teams to giving all the teams opportunities to have success. That's what college sports is. I think that there's got to be there's good teams, good programs could be good programs in all situations. It just sometimes they have to be retooled. Sometimes they have to be readjusted. Maybe but they're all good teams. The teams that you mentioned, Syracuse has been to a Final Four from the ACC. Louisville's is a top 5 program. It doesn't make a difference. If you have good players and good commitment on all fronts, you could play in any league.
And when you look at some of those coaches that you coached against inside of the ACC, night in and night out, the Roy Williams, the Coach K's, the Jim Boeheims, Chris Mack did a hell of a job at Xavier coming over to Louisville, the Mike Brays, and so on and so forth. And, what can you say about that, about the experience that you've had? And, of course, there's coaches all throughout the ACC, so if I didn't say a name, it doesn't mean that they're not important. There's a lot of great coaches in there and what they've been able to do. Clemson coming back up and seeing them have success. So what can you say about the coaches that you got to coach against night in and night out in the ACC and how that challenged you and what that did for you as a coach?
But I'll say the one thing I think that's unique. Obviously there's great coaches at every level. And I'm not just saying the Power 5 level or Power 6 level. There's great coaches at every level. So the one thing that's unique about the ACC to me is that the different styles of play within the league, where you could be playing Virginia one night and then they're playing the way that they play on defense with their pack line principles and the way they guard the ball, and then you could be playing Syracuse the next night. And now it's totally short time prep against a totally different style, and the coaches are the best at what they do. There's nobody in the history of basketball that's ever been a better zone defensive coach than Jim Boeheim. And you can talk about how great year in and year out Tony Bennett is with his defensive schemes. So I think that's the one interesting thing about the ACC is the different styles of play. And I'll just compare it to the Big Ten that has unbelievably good coaches and unbelievably great teams. But the styles of play are pretty similar, night in and night out. And tweaks, obviously, some, but the style of play is similar. So the preparations are a little more similar than in the ACC.
For you, before I let you go, Jim, the coach, on your side of it, looking at mentorship and whatnot, who have been some of the coaches that you feel like you took the most from that really made an impact on you? When you look through your entire career as a coach, what can you say about, a coach or two or three, whoever it may be, that really inspired you?
I mean, there's a long list, and when you're around people, I think it's both between head coaches. For me, it started with my high school coach, Ralph Willard, and the assistant high school coach, Steve Lenowitz, who's, still one of my best friends. It started way back then, but then it's everybody, guys you played for, Tom Penders, Brendan Malone for me. And then it's the head coaches you work for, and it's a lot of them I could go through, but really then it becomes the guys you work with. So when I was at Miami, Ohio, working for Herb Sendek, who's a phenomenal coach, Charlie Coles and Thad Mata were on our staff. So just the basketball talk in the office, the camaraderie, the things you learn, and the friendships you develop from the people you work for, and you're still friends with them. And then the people you work with. When I was at Western Kentucky, I worked with Tom Crean. I mean, so there's so many guys that you just keep up with and learn from. And then you have another network of friends you make along the way, or people you respect that you coached against that you develop relationships with. And that's the beauty of it, is that it never ends. It never ends. And then for me, you get really gratified when the people that work for you get head jobs. So Gino Ford worked for me. He's head coach at Stony Brook. Rob Senderoff at Kent State. Rob Murphy at Eastern Michigan. All worked for me. And now players are starting to get their opportunities that have played for me. So it's a never-ending thing, man. It's just this beautiful part of basketball.
Here with Jim Christian on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You mentioned Rob Murphy. He's a friend of mine. And so I got to go a little bit deeper into that. What can you say about Coach Murph and what you think about him and the job he's done and the human being he is on and off the court?
Well, he's a phenomenal person, who just really understands people. He's obviously a great basketball coach. I've coached against him. I know how good of a coach he is. I worked with him, so I know. I've seen him on every day. The way he cares, his relationship building with everyone. He's one of those people that can connect with everybody around him, and they could all feel when they walk with him. And this is a high quality person and a great person. So I think he's done an unbelievable job. Obviously, Eastern Michigan's not the easiest of jobs in the MAC, but he's done a phenomenal job. He really has. Year in and year out, his teams are very difficult to play against, and he's worked extremely hard.
Kent State, TCU, Ohio, before coming to BC as a head coach, overall thoughts on what you've learned up to this point is kind of part one of it, and what you took away from those schools and kind of, your journey as a head coach. And then the second piece, where do you see yourself from here, or what is on the horizon for Jim Christian?
Well, that's a great question. I wish I could answer it. I mean, I think that that's one of the things that comes with this, is you get a chance to decompress a little bit and think about the future. And obviously, I love basketball. I love being around young people. I love teaching. I love coaching. So obviously, that's something I would love to keep doing if the right opportunities come my way that are best for me and my family. So I think that's something I would love, but I'm not in control of that. So I just worry just concern myself with the things I am in control of, and that's, I have 2 young sons that I'm getting an unbelievable amount of time with right now that I would never normally get, so I'm appreciative of that, and my family, so kind of just sitting back and decompressing and thinking.
Well, you also have the opportunity to watch a lot more basketball, which means you can make a lot more notes, which means you can scheme a lot more when you get that job.
Well, it always looks a lot better when you're watching it than when you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
So you get all the answers in your living room. As you know, as watching many games, everything is not as easy when you're actually doing it. But, there's no question. But I watch basketball. I watch a lot of basketball anyway. I love the game. So if you love the game, and I love talking to coaches and seeing what their thought process was, how they attack different things. And I think that's one of the things I think people enjoy about me, getting to know me. The people who I didn't know would be just how much I love to share and how much, I love this game.
So you fall in love with this game. I'm an AD. I want to hire you. I'm thinking about hiring you. Why do I bring on Jim Christian to my program? I know it's hard to say in the sense of you don't know what program it is, where they're at, and whatnot. But if I'm an athletics director right now and you're in my office, tell me why I'm bringing in Jim Christian.
I mean, you're not, though, Dan. It's a conversation I'd have with an AD at the time of the job and what I would know. But I just think if you pick up the phone and you called anybody that's played against my teams, I think they would be able to give you a better answer than I could at this point. Anybody that's coached against me, anybody that's called any of my players, I think they'd be able to answer that question for you pretty good.
Fair enough. So you got the references are ready on the resume. I like that. So the final thing here, Jim, is you never have the opportunity to do this. You sit at a podium and you get asked questions all the time. I don't think that's fair. I think coaches and players should be able to flip the script. So here on Wake Up Call, I do a thing called Rapid Fire, which gives me an opportunity to spin it in the other direction and allow a coach to put someone on the hot seat instead of always being on it. So with that being said, Jim, be gentle. I feel like I've covered you fairly for years, but you've got 3 questions. You can ask me anything in the world. They don't have to do with basketball. They could be anything. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to put me at the podium. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
So my first question, I'm going to reverse it on you. Why do you think they would not be able to get through the NCAA tournament?
Why do I think that what?
Right. Why would you think the NCAA tournament will have more problems than the regular season?
Okay, so I definitely, I think that kids want to play, coaches want to coach, so I don't want to see any problems. I look at it in the sense of 50 states at some time during this year have functioned as 50 different countries. And my concern is that if protocol is here being done right, maybe here it's not. And that's not to say that anybody would do it wrong. It's just there's a lot of trust that has to go on. And there's a lot of people coming from different places. If you come from the state of Texas where there's no restrictions, or Mississippi where there's no restrictions, as opposed to New York that's taken forever to open, there's all of those questions of how do you navigate all of these people coming in? How do you make sure that everybody's following the rules? And the more people you have in the room, the more opportunity that there's going to be something wrong. And it could be one kid going out to a nightclub. It could be one kid going home to see family and somebody has it. It could be one person that changes stuff. So it's just the fact that everybody's got to be on the same page, and that's a difficult thing to do. However, and because the time is it's shrunken down so much, right? You play, and then you don't even have 48 hours. You're playing again. So I think for me, it's set up to have an issue, but I pray to God it doesn't. I know the NFL figured it out. The MLS did it extremely well, and nobody gives them any credit. They did it first with the TBT, and then the NBA was able to do it. But I want to see it go off. I want to see it happen. The fan in me wants to see it. The person that knows that this world needs some positivity and normalcy wants to see it. So I am not Jim, I am the opposite of the typical 99.9% of the media. I'm actually a positive, optimistic, loving, faithful, God-fearing human.
Yeah,
so,
I'm glad to hear that.
So I would love to see, us 0.1 percenters get to see this tournament go off and no problems whatsoever. So I just need to get everybody everyone needs to be on the same page. We all got to be smart, and you can go do this, that, and the other come April. But from now until April, 5th, just follow the rules and do what you got to do.
Well put. Well put. I agree with that. Second question as we enter the ACC tournament, home or away, whether you saw them live or on TV against Syracuse.
Yeah.
Tell me who the best team in the ACC is, why, and which team could surprise everybody in the ACC tournament.
I would tell you, I think that's a fantastic question. I think, for me, I'm always concerned, I don't care where they are, I'm always concerned of what Duke can do. North Carolina, Syracuse was able to get the best of them. I think that they're a dangerous team in this thing. I mean, they're the 6th seed, so I do think North Carolina is more dangerous than maybe people give them credit for. But I would say the team to beat is Virginia or Florida State. I think, I've been talking about Florida State and Leonard Hamilton and just really giving them accolades and giving them appreciation for years now. It's got to be, at least 5 years that I've been sitting here saying, you think that Florida State's a football school, are you paying no attention to what Leonard Hamilton's doing? So I think Florida State and Virginia, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them at the end of all of this, and that would be a tough game to figure out who's going to win it. So I think that those are the teams to beat. I think the team that could surprise is North Carolina. And, I would also give some credit to Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech for making it as high as they do. But, I would say my team of concern is North Carolina, and I would give a little bit of a nudge there to Clemson, saying I think they'll make it through the second round where they've already advanced to, and I think they're going to give Georgia Tech some hell. So there's some teams that I would say you got to watch out, the North Carolinas and the Clemsons, but Virginia and Florida State, I think either one of those schools has definitely put them in a place to, rise to the end of this ACC tournament for sure.
All right, Dan, I appreciate it, but you're off the hot seat now.
I don't. You got one more. Use it wisely, Jim. You got anything?
I asked 2 double questions.
Okay.
I wasn't asking simple questions.
All right, fair enough. I like that. I can respect that. So I get that'll never happen with you in the media where they go, you know what, Coach, you don't have to answer another one. So I'll take myself off the hot seat. But Jim, wherever you end up, I would love the opportunity to continue to talk with you. I would love to have you back on even during tournament time to get your thoughts from your perspective, but I hope wherever you land, it's the right fit, and I hope that you and I get to keep in touch. And beyond that, I'm just very honored because, you do this work tirelessly, and I try to reach out to as many coaches as I can and as many teams. I try to cover everybody, and you never know if anything hits or if anything sticks or if people know that you're different. And the fact that you came on here today really does speak to the hope that I'm doing something positive in the business, so I want to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and you definitely are. And anytime, anytime you want to reach out, I'm more than happy to talk to you, and I really appreciate, the opportunity. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that, Jim. And in the meantime, I'll look forward to talking with you soon. Stay safe, take care of those young ones, and say hi to the family for me, and I hope you all are well.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Right,
see you, buddy.
Take care. That coming once again from Jim Christian here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life inside of the Cafe Kubal studios right here. So very much appreciate having Jim on the show today. And that was, you never know. You never know. I shouldn't say you never know, but those moments, if my mom's listening right now, she knows that I can't really speak. And you always hope you're making a difference. And I've probably been able to come into contact with Jim, 5 minutes once a year, get to talk to him at ACC Operation Basketball and get, moments here and there. But, it makes you feel like you're doing something right in this world, from my perspective, when a coach says that, when he makes those comments. Because I'm not living in Massachusetts. I'm not talk to as many people as I possibly could. I love conversations. I love getting to know people, and I love just hearing people's stories. I think that's such a misconception of broadcasters, and maybe some people are like what I'm about to say, but they say that broadcasters just like to hear themselves talk, right? They're people that felt shut up, and now they can speak, and they use it, and they just talk over everybody, and I'm the opposite. I do this show because I love hearing the stories, and I love touching other people's lives and them touching mine, and moments like that where I'm like, hey, I just hope Jim Christian knows my name. And he's like, no, I know I know you're doing it the right way. I'd love to come back on the show. Like, you're doing a good job. A coach tells you that, especially a coach that's not in your backyard, and it's game-changing. It's a reminder of why I set out in the first place and what I'm trying to do. So, Jim, I hope you get the greatest job of your career next. He's been at Kent. He's been in a bunch of places, but was a head coach at Kent State, TCU, and TCU is in the Mountain West, Texas Christian, Ohio, and Boston College. And I'm really, really excited about the opportunity to continue to follow Jim's career and see where he ends up next. Love to get him on the NCAA tournament talk. That's going to be cool. And I got a lot of ideas for this year's NCAA tournament because I've had a year to be away from it. So, I think we need to kind of pull out all the stops this time around. If we haven't done a lot before, we're going to do a lot more now. I'm actually going to do my own selection show as well. So I will be doing that. So make sure you stay tuned for that coming up this week. And so I'll be doing my selection show. We'll be doing a lot of stuff in the tournament to talk about the different matchups and goings-on and everything. So I'm very excited for that. This week, as you all know, is a week that I have dedicated really for years now to having Syracuse alumni on, whether Syracuse wins or loses in the ACC tournament. During ACC tournament week, I always have special guests on from Syracuse. This week, we'll be featuring Dale Shackelford, Roosevelt Bowie Jr., Hal Cohen, Jim Lee, John Wallace, and maybe some others. So a lot of great stuff coming up. Coach Q from Syracuse women's basketball, who will be in the tournament, he'll be joining us this week. Jaron Willis will be joining me as well to speak on his recruitment. He released his top 10, the 2022 defensive hybrid. He released his top 10 here on the broadcast exclusively. He'll be back here with us. We'll have the ingredients to success, Papa Joe, annoying moment of the week, lead with Juanita Ward. The top dog of the week will be announced. A lot of great stuff coming up this week. Next week's already got a bunch of great people that are coming on as well. So very much looking forward to it. But to spin it all the way back to Mr. Christian, I just feel very, very honored and privileged that these coaches even know my name. Because they talk to so many people, especially when you're not there in their backyard, and you never know. You never know. You try to do things the right way, but you never know if people see that. And the fact that Jim said that he did, that's a moment where I look up to my grandfathers, I look to my grandmothers, I look to my parents here on earth, I look to my closest friends, my brothers, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews, and my dog, Lily, and I look in the mirror, and I just, I say thank you. Now, I got a letter that came in yesterday, and I hope John DeMillo won't mind that I read it here. So I got sent this from John after doing the event with Avicoli's with the Liverpool girls basketball team, and this made my mom cry. But these are the things where, and I want to read this today because I went through a lot this past week, and I know people are going through a lot at any given time. And I just want you to appreciate your blessings, because we overlook these things where, if we read this every morning, messages like this, it should make us forget about everything else. But this is what John said. I wanted to take a minute to thank you for the outstanding interview you did with my daughter, Alyssa DeMillo, at Avicoli's. Alyssa is a special kid that has overcome tremendous challenges in her young life. Alyssa was forced to mature much faster than most kids as my wife began to battle breast cancer when Alyssa was 11. As the oldest of 3 sisters, Alyssa had to step up to help me maintain our household and care for her younger sisters. How she stepped up in the relationship with her sisters is unbelievable. At 14, Alyssa passed out while serving food at a local food pantry. She found out she had a major anemia issue and doctors couldn't figure out why. Again, Alyssa had to give up the game she loved, this time due to her own health problems. Then 2 years later, while practicing with the team for her junior season, she takes a step on a breakaway layup with no contact and suffers a terrible or unhappy triad injury to her knee, tearing the ACL, MCL, and meniscus. At minute 24 of the interview, you ask Alyssa to reflect on what she learned about herself, and she answers that she thinks she can do anything she puts her mind to. I can't express how grateful we are that you gave Alyssa the chance to reflect on her past and what she learned from it. It brought my wife and I to tears. Wishing you all the best and thank you, John DeMillo. So, statements like what Jim Christian had to say this morning, statements from John DeMillo. When you set out to do good in the world and you think that nobody sees it, I promise you, under some rock, somewhere, someplace, somebody is better off today because they met you. If you are a good person and you're putting good into the world, I promise you, somehow, some way, it is getting through. It is there. And don't ever give up being who you are. Don't ever give up being a good person. If you are a good person, living your dreams and doing the best you can, don't ever give up. And if you're not doing those things, well, then start. And then don't ever give it up. Because this world needs as much good as it possibly can take. And I'll tell you, no matter how much good it has, it can always take a little bit more. So be positive, be good. And when God sends you those little, hey, somebody did hear it. Somebody does know it. It's going to be all right. Jim Christian talked about that, right? He loses his opportunity at Boston College, and what does he get? He doesn't get phone calls from people connected to BC. He gets phone calls from people connected to BC and Kent State and Ohio and TCU and everywhere. He gets phone calls of people that he knew maybe 30 years ago to right now. Because when you go out there and you try to do good, it doesn't always go your way. The ball doesn't always bounce your way. Things happen outside of your control. Things happen within your control. And things don't always go the way you want them to go. But if you just persevere, you just turn that corner, and you have the faith and the trust and the belief that something better is on its way, you just might trip and fall into happiness that's even better than you could have ever imagined. So in the words of Jimmy V, don't give up. Don't ever give up. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we spin back around, we will be joined by Dave Pasiak, somebody that never gave up, always believed in himself, and found an opportunity, which has now brought him to his 300th career win as a collegiate head coach. We'll talk with Dave after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Was talking off the air with Dave Pasiak. I mean, we could have had our whole conversation off the air, hanging out. So remembered that we had to jump back on here and talk with everybody. So Dave is here with me today. Dave is no stranger to the broadcast by any stretch of the imagination, and I have had the pleasure, the honor, the privilege to speak with Dave Pasiak for years. I mean, I came back to Syracuse, I want to say in 2011, so it's been a decade, pretty much. I think in April, somewhere around that, it will have been a decade that I've been back home, and Dave was one of my first guests. He's one of the first people that came on the show, and for a decade's time, he has been dedicated to always making time for me here. Dave has never said no. He's always made it work, and I am extremely, undeniably thankful for that. So 300 career college wins. I'm ecstatic to celebrate that with him today, but I'd celebrate 1, I'd celebrate 15, I'd celebrate 37 of them, because Dave Pasiak is somebody that I will always remember, respect, and appreciate, because he was there for me in the beginning of my return to Syracuse, and he's been there all the way through, without question. We've broken bread together. We've talked a lot off the air, on the air. We've talked about life. We've talked about sports, and we've seen each other through some adversity, great adversity in his life, in my life. And so, you know, my intro for Dave Pasiak is one of great appreciation, thankfulness to God, and somebody who was well beyond a coach in my life from the beginning. So with that being stated, Mr. Pasiak is here with me. Dave, how are we doing today?
Doing good, Dan. Good, Dan. Appreciate the kind words, and the same thing comes from my end to value our friendship and through the good and the bad over the years. So it's great to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, you got to think about it like this: our relationship, our friendship, lasted longer than my marriage, so that's good for us. So, more dedicated to Dave. But so with that being said, Mr. Pasiak is here with us this morning. Dave, bring me into the 300, that number, that beautiful, wonderful number, 300 career college wins. It obviously didn't start with NVU Linden, but that is where you have gotten to number 300. So let's reflect on 300 wins in your career as a head coach.
Well, I think first things it means I'm getting old, I guess. But beyond that, it's it's a nice achievement, a nice milestone, but really the credit for that, like, I've never scored a basket or grabbed a rebound or blocked a shot or anything along those lines. So the credit for that goes to all the guys we've coached over the years, because they're the ones that are really out on the floor competing, and we just try to do what we can to help put them in a position to be successful. But they're the ones that go out and actually compete and execute. And I've been really lucky over the years to coach a lot of really great people, and because of that, I've been able to stay in the game long enough to get to a milestone like that. So really the credit goes to all the guys we've coached over the years. So they deserve most of the recognition and the props and whatnot.
I know that this is going to be hard to kind of condense the list, but of those people that were on the floor for you, grabbing rebounds, blocking shots, making assists, scoring points, and whatnot, who are some of the people that stick out the most of the players that you've had over the years?
Wow. It's hard to do that without, unintentionally overlooking people and whatnot. But, if I go all the way back to my first team at Herkimer County Community College, I had a couple of great kids, Peter Panis, who went on to be a high school coach and AD, and Keith Lewis, that were, they were our, kind of the foundation of our first year there. And, and then, we had, like, Jay Snow played for me at Herkimer, and then played at Utica College, and then, at Onondaga, when we first got it going there, Tyrone Albright, who was, played on the national championship team at Syracuse, who helped us get that foundation started. Like, those guys that are there when you first move into a job, I think, are really important, because they help you set the foundation. Mo Douglas was another guy, and Chet Columbus, some of the early guys, and then, Joe Olson, who was like the all-time leading scorer at Onondaga, helped us kind of take the program to into another level there. And we had Danny Marcello was another All-American there, and great group of guys. All the way up through until to when I left there, and then coming to Linden. We just honored yesterday. We had our senior day. I had two guys that have been with me for 4 years, Neil Mulligan and Kenan Hadarovich, and like neither one of those guys were guys that were going to really be big box score numbers guys, but they're just guys that were there every day and help us. They're the first two guys we've had for 4 years here that just kind of help us lay the foundation. And and Zach Falkenberg from Chintenango was our first recruit here. Has really helped turn our culture, and just a ton of guys over the years. There's like hundreds of guys that we could spend the next 5 hours on the air. I could going through different guys that played for us, but I always have a kind of a soft spot for like those first couple of guys that help you get the foundation established and turn the culture of the program in the direction that you want. So that's try to highlight those guys primarily.
That coming here from Dave Pasiak, a longtime basketball coach who just got to 300 career wins as a collegiate coach. Dave, you spoke on coming, all the way through your career to NVU Linden and to, trying to build that culture and that foundation, and having a couple guys that have now been through the program all 4 years, and so you're building that. Where can you say NVU Linden is as far as what you're trying to build? Because you inherited a program that needed a lot of work. You inherited a fixer-upper, and it doesn't happen overnight that you can fixer up anything. So how have you seen your newest chapter of your life, which is NVU Linden, how have you seen that go, and where are things at right now?
Well, I think, when I came in here, we took the job in the fall of 17, and it was late. School had already started and everything. And, Chris Dorsey, who was the coach that was here, and he went on a centenary in Louisiana, and, he had kind of gotten the program to a pretty competitive level in the conference and got an opportunity. He's done a good job at Centenary as well. But like that gap in time, and I took the job, school had already started, and so like we didn't have really recruit anybody that year. They played conference and got an opportunity. The biggest thing we had to do, he's done a good job at Centenary as well. That were here that were like that gap in time, and I took the job, school had already started. Like good guys, but not really representing our program in the manner that we were looking for, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So like the first thing, we've got like 4 core values that are like important to me and kind of important to us as a program. With just representing our program and our university and ourselves in the best light, in a positive light, and being respectful to everyone around us. The first thing, working hard every day to get better as a player and as a student, as a young man, and most importantly, like being a great teammate who's all about the team and who's all about the other guys on the team. So, like when I came in here, that was the biggest thing that we needed to turn. And honestly, like the culture piece wasn't that great, and I think just because I don't really know why, but we really have worked hard and been intentional about the guys we're recruiting and everything, and have turned that from not being particularly great culture to where now we have great guys in our program, and they work hard. They're good citizens on campus, and the biggest thing is they enjoy being a team and hanging out with each other and getting in the gym and working extra and doing things away from basketball, and have really kind of set the foundation in a pretty firm place. And as we've gone along, we've gotten better on the court each year. This has been a kind of crazy year with COVID, and we didn't have conference season, abbreviated 10-game schedule. But yesterday, we won our last game, our senior day game. So we ended up with it's the first time Linden men's basketball has gone 500 or better since returning to Division III, which was in 2008. And if you want to go back, there was a stretch in there where the program was just NAIA and just USCAA. If you want to go back to the early history, it was, I think, 79-80 was when they were previously a Division III program, was the last time they had a 500 or better season. So, so that was a nice little accomplishment for this group of guys to have taken the program to that point from where we were in October of 17 when I came up here.
Yeah, and it's so amazing. Speaking here with Dave Pasiak on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, for you to give that history of NVU, Linden, and where they were and where they are now. The first time they've had a 500 record in 13 years. So, to look at that, Dave, obviously things are trending in a better direction. The team finishes their abbreviated schedule at 5-5 with the 10 games that you had played. And not only did you get to 5-5, did you get to 500, but you won your last 3 games of the season. You defeated Northern Vermont Johnson by a point, defeated Norwich. You played 2 games with Norwich here and defeated them 99-83 and 87-82 to round out the season. What does that mean to you? 5-5, making the progress, getting there, first time in 13 years that that this team has seen a 500 record. That says a lot. It says a lot what you're working to do. It says a lot what you're working toward and how every little bit helps. So what can you say to the fact that we're in a place right now where the Hornets are stinging a little bit more here, trying to make a positive part of history, and for the first time in 13 years, ending at 500 as you move forward and have something to build on?
Yeah, well, like we talked with our guys afterwards, because of the COVID world, there was no conference play in our conference this year, and there's no NCAA tournament in Division III. I said we had an opportunity to win our last game which in this case we won our last 3, so we bring a little momentum into our off season and into next season, and a little bit of kind of excitement for our potential going forward. I told him, I said, in a normal year, you win you win the national championship, or you lose your last game, or you've had a really bad season, so you don't go to the postseason. Then maybe you win your last game, but don't go to the postseason. I said, so this year we're in a place where we got a chance. We've won our last 3 games, have some positive momentum going into our off season and into next season. And I think one of the things I was telling you, we played yesterday afternoon, senior day, had a really hard fought win. We were down most of the game. Came from behind and made some plays at the end to win. And after the game, I'm in my office taking care of some sports information stuff, and I'm about ready to go home, like 3-4 hours after the game. And a handful of our guys are in the gym getting up shots and working on things, And if there was ever a day to take a day or 2 off, that would have been it. And so they're back in the gym and looking to continue improving, getting better, and hopefully putting ourselves in a position where we're a serious contender in our conference come next season.
And you talk about, the D3 opportunity to play, and the opportunity to have some type of a season. Now, granted, you didn't have, conference play, and granted, you didn't have the opportunity to have a postseason. There's no, NCAA tournament for Division III this year. But what could you take away, from this, from this opportunity? Because not everybody has it. I mean, one of my good friends, Enrico Mastriani, D3 at my alma mater of Marywood University, and they didn't have what you had. They have the opportunity to maybe play a few games. There's, they could practice. There was the opportunity, I think he said, like maybe 3 or 4 games you could put on the schedule. So, I mean, I think people need to understand that not only is it different from division to division, but it's different between conferences, it's different between states, it's different between, teams in general that opt not to play. So, I mean, what you got to do at NVU Linden is not what Marywood has gotten to do, and you're all in the D3 ranks. So just what you can say to that on being fortunate, and about the fact that even teams within the same division of the NCAA don't have the same opportunities this year due to COVID.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's a tough year and it's a strange year. I honestly think the student athletes are, they all across the country, Division 1, 2, 3, NAI, junior college, USCA, student athletes deserve a ton of credit. Not just basketball players, but all sports, for just persevering through all the curveballs that COVID has thrown at them. We played 10 games. We had, our administration was supportive of us trying to play, and gave us a window and said, if we get up to 10 games in that window, that would be great. In order to get 10 games, we had probably scheduled, I think we've had like 12 games that didn't get played on the original date they were scheduled. There was, through no issues of ours, like we have not had any COVID issues within our team. It was all things with people who were supposed to play, and somebody would be in a close contact of a COVID case at another school, and all of a sudden the games change. So just having, being a little bit adaptable and everything, I think that's a life lesson that our kids learn. But I really feel for, like, we're kind of a glass half empty, half full with our situation. Like, we're really happy that we're able to get 10 games played, because like you said, a lot of people, especially throughout the Northeast, haven't played at all, or have gotten in 1 or 2 games, and then they get a COVID break and they're on pause or something like that. Right. So, we're fortunate to have played 10 games, but the flip side of that is, in some parts of the country, teams have played pretty close to a full schedule or a full schedule. And we're playing in the fall, and we see, like, schools, we recruit a little bit in Florida, and I mean, Florida's already done with their high school playoffs, and yet in the Northeast, high schools have just started playing in a lot of states. Teams in certain parts of the country played 20, 25 games. So we're fortunate that we got 10, but at the same time, it's a little frustrating that we didn't weren't able to play a full season, but we certainly appreciate the opportunities that we had, and realize that there's a lot of young people, young student athletes that haven't had any opportunity to compete this year. So we're certainly grateful to our administration and the people that we're able to schedule games with, that we were able to have that opportunity.
Coming here from Dave Pasiak, 300 career college wins and getting to number 300 here this season, which is remarkable and amazing and really, truly awesome. Dave, for you to be able to have a senior night, to get a win, for you to have 300 in the background, for all of this to come together this season, glass half full, glass half empty, like you said, there's two ends to the coin, but what can you say to the fact that you reach a milestone, your team gets to have a senior night, and they win, and you get to 500 for the first time in 13 years in team history? All of that, amidst all of the negativity, has to hold some positive weight in your life, I would imagine.
For sure. Like I said, I'm most happy for the guys on our team this year, because they accomplished some things by getting to 500, and especially for like Neil and Kevin, our two seniors, who have been here like from when we kind of started this in 2017, and have been at the core of everything we've done, and they've set the table for what we're able to do in the future. So I was very happy for them. The tough thing about, like, we had senior day yesterday, we have no fans in the gym, so they're 4-year players, and their parents and their families couldn't come to the game. They have to watch on live stream. So those are the kind of the things that you deal with in the COVID world. But we had, certainly to finish strong down the stretch, to end on a high note, to do some things that haven't happened at Linden either forever or in a long time, were very gratifying for me, and mostly I'm happy for our players that accomplished that, and that they have been rewarded for for the time, the effort, the energy, and the things that they've put into our program over the past 4 years.
Speaking here with Dave Pasiak on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Dave, for you, how do you feel Vermont has received you? How has NVU and Linden, how has the administration treated you? How has the community treated you? What can you say about the support and how the community is with you, as well as kind of secondly, did you get an outpouring of love when you got to 300, or did you feel that?
Yeah, well, I'll take the first part first. Like where I am in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, I've found just the people in general to be laid back and just very nice people. Our administration here, Chris Sommer and Kate Roy, the people that were here that hired me, and now Chris Gilmore, who's the athletic director now, and our dean, Jamie Ventura, and our president, Elaine Collins, all just like really good people, and want the best for our students and our student athletes. So I think we're kind of aligned in values in that sense. In terms of like the hitting 300 specifically, was interesting. I was having a conversation yesterday with one of your media colleagues from one of the Burlington TV stations, and he asked if our guys knew about it going into the game Saturday and all that, and I says no, like honestly, nobody knew about it until like we put out on social media after the game, and like that's kind of like I want the focus to be on the guys playing now and the guys on the court and what they're accomplishing. After the fact, it was really nice and really nice for me to hear from, like, not just people at the school here, but guys I've coached over the years, and people, assistant coaches that I've had, coaching colleagues, and family and friends, and those kind of things. So after the fact, it was awesome to hear from everybody, and I really appreciate it. But like as far as the game itself and the games themselves, like I don't want the focus to be on that. I want it to be focused on our guys that are actually, on the court competing.
And that's the thing. I mean, and that's how humble. I mean, that's who you are. I don't imagine that you're like, hey, put this stuff out about me and say all this. So, how surprised were people after the fact that it was like, oh, you got the 300? Like, oh, congrats, coach. Like, I mean, how was the dynamic afterward because you didn't make it about you?
Well, I think it's kind of like that. It's like, people saw it and they reached out, which I'm humbled by and really appreciate. Like, we didn't build up at all. Like I said, nobody up here knew it until after it happened, which is a good thing because I didn't want it to be about that. I wanted it to be about our guys, So we didn't, never mentioned it or talked about it at all, leading up to it. So, so I think in that sense, I think people saw it after the game when it kind of went out in our social media and everything, and that's when I've heard from many people over the years, and it's been really nice that people have taken a second to reach out with either on social media or text or phone call or what have you.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. It happened on Saturday, March 6th of 2021. A day where your team won the game 99-83 when you scored 60 points in the second half of the game. To be able to do that, shot 50% from the field as well, had almost 50 rebounds in the game, almost 50 points in the paint, 28 points from your bench. So a lot of great stuff, from a coach's point of view, to have your 300th career victory come in a game where the team performed so well and did a lot of great things. For you, Dave, will Saturday, March 6, 2021, will that always hold a special place? Will that be in the back of your mind? I mean, I know you were very low-key about it and didn't want anybody to know until, the game was over, and if you won, okay, we'll put it out there. But for you, will Saturday, March 6th always stick out to you?
Yeah, probably. I think as much because we played really well Saturday. To be honest with you, we played better Saturday than we did Sunday against the same opponent. But I think it'll be a kind of a memorable game for me from that standpoint because we played so well as a team, and you keep it in the back of your mind and everything. But again, it's not about the number as much as it is the guys on the team and seeing them, progress and grow. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, it is. I mean, it's the answer I would expect from you. I'm like, Dave, let's talk about Dave. No, let's talk about the players. Well, Dave, you had it, you got a career, win. But we played good in the game. I mean, you've been about the kids for as long as I've known you, and I think that's why you got to 300. I think that's why I'm hoping you get to 500, 600. Continue going, because there's so much that you have brought into people's lives. I mean, I put up that I'm going to talk to you and celebrate this day, and there's support coming from people that just genuinely care about you, and I want to go to that, the coaching tree of Dave Pasiak, because you've inspired people to coach, you've inspired people to chase their own dreams and get their own wins out there. What can you say to your coaching tree and some people that are coming off of that tree, the people that are blossoming out, so to speak, and creating their own? Because you have inspired your players, but you've inspired some of your players to become coaches. You've pushed them, and you've been there for them as well. And, I think it's just your answer that you just gave me is a perfect transition into the fact that, these players that you care so much for, some of them are out there trying to grow their own programs and build their own teams up and help their own student athletes. So what can you say to the Dave Pasiak coaching tree?
Well, I think that is really what end goal of coaching is you're trying to make a difference with young people and make a difference in their lives, have a positive impact, so that when they leave your program and leave your day-to-day care, so to speak, that they can go out and be successful in whatever they choose to do. Successful in starting a family, their professional careers and whatnot. And certainly when they go into coaching, that it's awesome. And I'm really blessed that I got three of my former players are college head coaches now. Zach Thompson at SUNY Delhi, and Justin Stern at Casanova, and Danny Frasina at Bryan and Stratton. And all three of those guys, I hope, are much better coaches than I am. And I think all three of those guys are going to have really lasting positive impact on the people that they're coaching. And I've got a large number of guys that have coached at been college assistants, been high school head coaches, high school JV coaches, coaching community youth programs, AAU travel, seeing them involved in the game at any number of levels. And hopefully they can take a little bit of the experience they had in our program and bring it to what they're doing, whether at whatever level they're coaching at, to make a positive difference with young people. And I think it extends beyond coaching. We've got Joel Olson, that was our All-American for us at Onondaga. He's a school administrator, making a difference with kids in that in that realm. And guys that have gone into the business world, or into I've got several guys that have gone into to the criminal justice, law enforcement field, and all that are making a positive difference in their community. So that's really what the rewarding thing of coaching is to see guys grow as players, obviously, but most importantly as young people. And one of the things, kind of our goal for every guy that plays for us is when they graduate, they can say they learned more from basketball than anything they did in college, and not necessarily learned in terms of on the court or X's and O's, just learned about themselves and learned about life and grew as a person. So that's really the most rewarding thing of what we do.
That coming here from Dave Pasiak here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and getting to talk about this. Zach Thompson at SUNY Delhi, Justin Stern at Casanova, Danny Frasina at Bryan and Stratton. What can you say about these gentlemen? To speak on it a little bit further, when you think about Zach, Justin, and Danny, what comes to mind?
Well, first of all, I'd like to beat one of them one of these days. I'm 0-2 against Zach and 0-1 against Justin. I haven't played Dan's team, but I'm proud of all three of those guys, because they're all doing a really, really great job. Zach I feel for him, because Delhi's in the transition period from USCAA to NCAA. They'll be a full Division III member in the fall. And he had a team last year that I think could have won the USCAA national championship, and they literally got pulled off the floor before the semifinal game because of COVID hit, and everything shut down instantly. So kind of robbed the team he had of a chance to compete for a national title. And Justin is doing a really good job at Casanova, has built a solid program, and Dan at Bryan and Stratton in Syracuse is building something from literally nothing. There was no program. He started the program from scratch, and is carving out a niche for that program in basketball circles in upstate New York. So I'm really proud of all three of those guys, the jobs that they're doing, and certainly excited to see how their programs continue to grow in the coming years.
And Dave, for you to celebrate 300 career college wins, when you look back at your mentors and people that inspired you, we talk about your coaching tree, which Zach Thompson, Justin Stern, and Danny Frasina are below you on that tree. Above you on the coaching tree, who would you give credit to for inspiring you to be the coach that you are today?
There's probably about 3 or 4 people that have really been the most influential, I would say.
Okay.
One top of the list would be Jack Bruin, Coach Bruin, that I had really the good fortune to work with when he first came to Colgate University. Coach Bruin was, like I always said, like, if I could be like half the coach and a quarter of the man that he was, that would be really, I'd be okay. He would be one, just for how he dealt with players and relationships, and built that program that was really that was a program that was really in the dumper, and kind of built them in short order to a very respectable and very competitive program, and kind of set the foundation for what's going on in Colgate now, where they're at the top of the Patriot League. Coach Bruin, and then Mike Lonigan, who was on a staff with me at Colgate. Mike and I have been good friends over the years. We've kind of supported each other through the ups and the downs and everything. So, Ed Jones has been a great friend for many, many years. Ed was a longtime coach at Utica College in SUNY Plattsburgh. He's another guy that really had a lot of impact. Bob Bird, my high school coach way back when in Waterville High School, is another guy who, how he dealt with people, I think sticks with me. And, a couple other people that Jerry Welsh, the longtime, really super successful coach at Potsdam State, has helped me get my foot in the door with jobs, helped me with jobs over the years. Been a guy that has been like very supportive and helped open some doors for me. And then Al Knapp, longtime high school coach at Brookfield and BVS, is another guy that has been very supportive and just great basketball mind that's been like really helpful over my career. And I know I'm leaving out other people, but again, just like with the players, we could probably go on for the next 4 or 5 hours of guys that have helped me progress as a coach and influence me in one way or another over the years.
And amazing, and a big shout out to Jack Bruin, Mike Lonigan, as well as Ed Jones, Bob Bird, Jerry Welsh, and so on and so forth, that have inspired you to be, the coach you are today and the person you are today. Dave, for anybody that's out there, whether they're a coach or whatever they're doing, what would be your advice to handling adversity, chasing your dreams, shutting out the outside noise, and being who you want to be? I mean, putting that together, I mean, that's really a message that could be carried to anybody anywhere. What would you say?
I think the biggest thing is stay true to yourself, and stay true to what you believe in, and just try to be yourself, true to yourself. Don't try to be somebody that you're not, and be able to look in the mirror at the end of the day and know that you're doing that, and that you're not compromising your values, and you're doing what you believe and believing what you do. So that would, if I was going to sum it up, I would say that.
I love that. That coming from Dave Pasiak here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Dave, you know how it is. We got a couple minutes left. I'm going to spin it back to you, and with the beautiful number of 3 in front of that 300, I'm going to let you have 3 questions to put me on the hot seat. It could be about anything in the world, but you're putting me on. I'm not putting you on. I'm just sitting here being a part of the hot seat. You got 3 questions to ask me. You can ask me anything you want. This is one of my gifts to you of celebrating your 300 career wins, is to let the coach ask the questions.
You put me on the spot. Let's see. All right, what's number 1? How about what's the thing you're looking forward to most once COVID is totally in the rearview mirror?
I would say I have a joke answer and I have a real answer. The joke answer is being able to date when there's no masks on. That's one. But I would say that traveling to Italy and Spain and the Sudan. There's certain places I want to go in the world, so I would like to be able to do that. I would like to see my Raptors back in Canada, and I'd like to go see them at their Scotiabank Arena and not in Tampa. I love Tampa. I love Toronto. So, yeah, I mean, I would say, when it's in the rear view, I'd like to travel internationally. But I promised myself that people ask me throughout the entire year, what's the first thing you're going to do when you can in this Corona time? What's the first thing you'll do? And I said, where will you go, they said. And I said, I'll go to the movie theater and I'll go to Disney. And I've been to the movie theater 3 times and I've been to Disney. So I'm COVID free. So, that's all good. So I've gotten to do that because God is great. So, yeah, I mean, I would say probably travel internationally and just keep doing what I'm doing, Dave, because you know me. I mean, I don't let anything hold me down. And so, the stuff I said I was going to do, I've already done. And now it's the rest of it's gravy, I guess.
Okay. Second one. At the risk of stirring up political waters, if you had 15 minutes with the president, what would you say to him?
If I had 15 minutes with the president, what would I say? I would say, don't talk about it, be about it. I would say, political parties have divided us forever, for as long as they've existed. George Washington said, don't form political parties because they will divide this country. We did not listen. And it has succeeded. So I would say, make decisions based on your humanity, your faith, and the fact that at the end of your life you're going to have to answer to those decisions from something a lot bigger than you that you can't buy, you will not have power over, and you cannot coerce into making a decision that you want them to make. God doesn't know political parties, and God does not know discrimination. God doesn't know money or any of that stuff to be important. So I would say, don't talk about it, be about it. Don't help one side, help humanity. Care about people, tell us the truth. Be willing to not make friends with... Be willing to lose friendships with people who aren't doing good in this world in order to maybe have to sit at the table with your enemies to figure out how to make it better. Stop trying to play this weird chess battleship game with other countries and find a way to all come together. Because at the root of everything that I believe in, God exists, we are all human, and we're better together than we are apart. So stop dividing us, start unifying us, and stop using things for political gain and use them for the gain of humanity. Because again, to drive it home, you will have to answer for your decisions one day, and you decide whether or not that trial is going to be a guilty verdict or if you're going to be able to go back home where we all should hope to be someday.
Awesome. That's an awesome answer. And then bring it back to the sports world, I guess, for number 3.
Okay.
Appropriate time since we're at the All-Star break. Who's in the NBA Finals and who wins it?
That's a fun question. I would tell you that, I'm a little bit saddened by the current state of my Raptors in the sense of they've had to sacrifice more than anybody else because they don't get to play at home. They don't get to sleep in their own beds. So that's been hard for me to kind of stomach. So, and I know that they need more on their team. I understand that. But at the break, I would have to say, Philadelphia, you're Philadelphia. I know you're a Sixers fan. Your team has definitely put themselves in a good position. The Brooklyn Nets are up there as well. I would love to see the Jazz make it because this would be, if we had Sixers Jazz, that'd be so weird, but so awesome. The Phoenix Suns went from obscurity to relevancy. They're number 2 in the West. So, I would tell you that if I had to choose today, it'd be hard for me to not say like LA, Philadelphia, speaking on the Lakers, but I would love to see Utah and your Philly or Utah and Brooklyn. I think we could see any mixture of the Lakers, the Nets, the Sixers, and the Jazz. I think any of that could really happen, and I would love to see the Jazz, and then between the Nets and the Sixers, I think either one of them could make it at this point.
And who wins it all?
Well, if the Jazz go forward, I think the East is going to take this year. I do. I think the Sixers or the Nets, I think who comes out of the East is going to take it this year. I do believe that. So I would probably have to lean on their side. I got this feeling that the Nets are going to go far, but I think the East is going to get a championship this year.
Okay.
I do. So with that being said, Dave Pasiak here with us. He'll be back again soon, and we'll very much look forward to speaking with him. Congrats on number 300. Congrats on 301. So you've already started toward 400. And, Dave, above all things, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for being in my corner. And, thank you for being one of the people that I can genuinely say has been there and is a man of their word. So I appreciate you. I respect you. I know you have to run, but I got to tell you that. So thank you for everything you do.
Well, thanks, Dan. I really appreciate value your friendship over the years and your support. And it's great to talk to you as always, and hopefully we'll chat soon.
All right. Sounds good. Take care.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. That coming from Dave Pasiak here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We'll take a step aside for a fast break, the final fast break of today's broadcast, and wrap things up right after this.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecabal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpassnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is absolutely positively worth the drive every time. Head up there Tuesday through Sunday, and you will be able to get breakfast and lunch and grab something quick for dinner as well from the Millhouse Market on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Download the app on the Google Play or Apple App Store, and you'll have everything at your fingertips, and you'll be able to look through their entire menu of quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, brick oven pizzas, as well as breads and desserts and so on and so forth. Everything that they have for you, including those sandwiches that are named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski, ingrained in our taste buds, ingrained in our community, and a fabric of the beauty of Central and Upstate New York. The Millhouse Market, with local products from local companies in their general store. On the weekends, having their Sunday brunch, as well as being open for indoor dining and everything that they do with their Tuesday through Sunday drive-up window. And they'll now be able to go to 75% capacity by the grace of God. So thankful for that. So with all of that being said, the Millhouse Market continuously navigating through tough times, through adversity with all of us, bringing us their smiles, their hard work, their dedication, determination, and their fantastic flavors. I could not be more proud to call Millhouse Market a partner. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every time. with that being stated here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to bid you adieu and thank you for everything. Like I said, this week is going to be tremendous. During ACC Tournament Week, I always have Syracuse guests on all throughout the week. So we'll have John Wallace, Jim Lee, Hal Cohen, Roosevelt Bowie Jr., Dale Shackelford, and maybe another person or two. They'll all be joining the show, as well as Coach Q will be joining us. We'll be joined by Jaron Willis. We'll have the Ingredients to Success brought to you by Avicoli's every Tuesday at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time. We will have Papa Joe with us Thursday morning at 9 a.m. as we always do. We'll have the Annoying Moment of the Week at 9 a.m. brought to you by Carvel DeWitt on Friday, followed by Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver with Juanita Ward brought to you by Chick-fil-A Cicero at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday. And at 10 a.m. on Friday, the top dog of the week will be announced by Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding. Fantastic week set up for you. Next week is already filling up, and before I know it, I'll be at the end of March planning out the rest of the schedule because you are awesome and because God is great. Thank you to my guests. So very happy to have Jim Christian and Dave Pasiak on the show. Thank you for your positivity and for your confidence and for your kindness and your words and a reminder to me that what I'm putting out people are picking up. So God bless to you both, and I thank you so much for that, and to your loved ones as well. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Head there today to maandpaspopcorn.com. Use the promo code DT20 anywhere in America, and you'll get 20% off of your delivery or in-store pickup. As long as you go to maandpaspopcorn.com, whether you're picking it up in the store here in Liverpool on 201 Old 7th North Street, or you're having it delivered to any one of the 50 states for a gift or for you, go to maandpaspopcorn.com. Use the promo code DT20 for 20% off. You can tune in live to Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Search our archives on TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, MixLR, Podbean, and more. By searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, you will get our broadcasts throughout history, dating all the way back to the summer of 2012. And a special thanks to all that help to make what we do here as great as it is. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Honda City of Liverpool, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Thank you to our Central and Upstate New York partners, and thank you to all of my listeners, all of my supporters, all of the people that connect with the show, that read our articles on WakeUpCallDT.com, that listen to the show, that watch the show. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you so much. God bless to each and every single one of you. Thank you for your positive messages. Thank you to everybody that was there for me this past week when we had to, go through some stuff that I didn't even anticipate or expect, and as that's how life is. So thank you for that. Thank you for unanswered prayers. Thank you for answered prayers and all the blessings that are to come. They say that God gives you 3 answers to every prayer. Yes, not right now, or no, because I have something better for you. So that's what I mean by unanswered and answered prayers. Thank you to God for everything. Thank you to you, to all my loved ones. Have a great day. Please take care of yourself. And as always, I got to live by it, and so do you. God bless. No stress. Do your best. I'll talk with you soon, and be well.